Everyone has the same 5 core areas of their life that ultimately determine how happy they'll be. Unfortunately, most of us have developed failure habits in each, and it's Will Moore's mission to help replace those with success habits to maximize momentum. After exiting his business for a combined 9-figure sum, Will learned it's not just about becoming an entrepreneur of your career, but an entrepreneur of the most important business you'll ever run, your life. And to crush it in your life requires firing on all cylinders in your 5 cores by continually taking action, building habits, and maintaining balance in each. Hello, and welcome to the 5 Core Life podcast with Will Moore, founder of More Momentum. If you're not already, please make sure to follow and subscribe to the 5 Core Life podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, so you get notified when episodes air every week. In this week's episode of the 5 Core Life, host Will Moore sits down with Tony Horton, founder of P90X. Tony Horton is the wildly popular creator of the best-selling fitness series P90X, P90X2, P90X3, 10-minute trainer, and most recently his 22-minute military-inspired workout, the 22-minute hardcore. Tony is a world-class motivational speaker and the author of top-selling books Bring It, Crush It, and his latest motivational book, The Big Picture, 11 Laws That Will Change Your Life. He's appeared on countless television programs as a fitness and lifestyle expert to promote healthy living through exercise and proper nutrition. In keeping with Tony's passion for healthy lifestyle, he's teamed up with beauty experts at Ultimate Salon Professionals to create his new hair and skincare line, TH Care by Tony Horton, because he believes what goes in your body is just as important as what goes on it. Tony believes that real and lasting change can happen when we commit to a health as a lifestyle. Exercise, whole foods, and the right mindset is the formula that leads to a vibrant, productive, and full life for anyone who focuses on being the best they can be. So in today's episode, Tony shares how he transformed Tom Petty's life. If you're not familiar with Tom Petty, you probably will recognize some of his songs, and his own in the process. His top habits for reducing the friction on workouts and the deep connection between mind and body. Prepare for a kick-ass physical health and mindset core-focused episode. Are you ready to fire on all cylinders? If so, let's go.
Dude, let me introduce you because I'm so unbelievably excited to have you. Tony Horton, P90X creator. I remember when that hit, it just like the world exploded. It was like P90X, right? And so I want you to tell people that's not all you are. You're an author, you're a former actor, you've got a lot of really great things going for you. And that's what we get into on 5 Core Life. It's not just about one particular core. Obviously, you seem to have pretty much nailed your physical health core, and we're going to talk about that. But it's also about the other stuff. It's the mindset, it's the relationships, it's the career and the finance, it's the emotional health, the giving back stuff. So we'll get into all that. But welcome, sir. Thanks for being here, brother.
My pleasure. I'm excited to chat with you and to disseminate what I know about these things.
Drop some wisdom on us, right? Yeah. So let's start with. Give us kind of a backdrop of kind of your life leading up to how you came up with P90X, and kind of how that the origin story, so to speak.
Well, we had done a product prior to that called Power 90, and we had some pretty good success with that. And Power 90 was back in the day before there were no cell phones and internet or anything like that. This was probably 99, 2000, something like that. And so we decided, Carl Deichler, the CEO of Beachbody, decided that, let's do something that nobody else is doing, which is just making people work out 6 days a week and eating right. And we'll figure out a way to sell that, And so we sold, I think, 3.5 million copies in those early stages, which was a complete anomaly compared to anything else anybody was doing at that time, right? I mean, they were selling, right, little gadgets and things that are supposed to be doing something but don't. And right. And so from there, we had a lot of investors come in and say, wow, you guys are for real. And then we kind of sat down and powwowed and decided what should we do next? You know what I mean? And we bantered back and forth about what it should be. We decided to make Power 90 harder, So because, I've been training people like, Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty and Billy Idol and Sean Connery and Annie Lennox and Usher and folks like that. And I knew what the formula was to really get these folks in shape for tours or for movies or for TV series or whatever it was. And it was, it was really a combination of doing everything, kind of preventing the boredom and the injuries and the plateaus that come from, doing the same stuff over and over again, expecting a different result. So we just hunkered down and said, there was a bit of a debate about, what it should be. Should it be sort of an intense version of Power 90, or, you know, should we introduce a bunch of new stuff? And we just felt like we needed to add, you know, Pilates and yoga and martial arts a little bit and really mix it up. And so that's how I train. I mean, I did a workout yesterday I've never done before. I just walk into the gym, I look around and I think, okay, what have I never done before? So I like to be sort of the Dr. Jekyll of fitness, America's Dr. Jekyll fitness clown. I don't know what
okay, that's your,
Thank
you know
you.
what, let me change your title
I'm here all week, but so that's what we did. And initially, you know, something like that, when people see that in an infomercial, that's a little intimidating, and people were. And, you know, we had to, you know, it didn't work really for the first 6 months to 12 months. But the few people that did buy it, who saw it and thought it was very legitimate, were started to send in their before and after pictures and their own videos and things. And this was all brand new. So we took out the test group folks out of the infomercial, and we just put in, you know, everyday folks, because their footage was, you know, really compelling. And that's when it really shot, you know, blew up, and we sold millions and millions of copies around the world.
And what year was that?
2004 is my guess.
I'm trying to put myself, where was I? What was I doing? 2004. Yeah. God, it feels like it was not that long ago, but I just remember it coming out.
It's like 16, 17 years old now, as I fix my hair.
And so, yeah, and right. So how has it evolved? So basically, first, let me just pause on what you said. So you had this, the P90, or you right?
Right. Power 90, P90.
Power 90,
yeah,
and you had some success. And then you didn't rest on your laurels. That's what I love, and that's what I'm always trying to get people to say. How can you become bigger, better,
laurel resting for us.
No laurel resting.
We have bills to pay and mortgages to pay and things, so we figure we should keep going. Yeah.
That's it, right? That's a good motivator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever helps you get there, and then you took this concept, and to me, what you did is you reduced friction. Ironically, with what you're doing, and in a way, you're creating friction because people have to, you know, lift weights, dance, all these different things they're doing. But what you did is you reduced the friction of actually working out, which was genius, by adding these other elements into it and kind of making it fun, which ties into exactly what I'm trying to do, which is, I use the word gamification, but I use it in a way, not as you see it in the dictionary. I use it as reducing friction in order to improve your habits to make you the happiest, awesomest self. And the best way to gamify something is, right, you're figuring out, okay, there's a resistance. People have a resistance to this. How do we make it fun, exciting, interesting, kind of trick their brains into wanting to do it and tying into that why, so to speak? And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah. And not really knowing, you know, what it would be called, or gamification is a very interesting phrase that I've heard before, but yeah, in the context of what we do, yeah, that's an interesting way of doing it. I mean, it was a formula that was obviously the muscle confusion, which was a made-up term that described variety. You know what I mean? Billy Idol, when I trained Billy Idol, he used to call me muscle confusion. Oh, funny, he would do this whole thing. And so, you know, we caught wind of that and thought that was kind of fun. But it described what we were doing. And then, of course, you know, casting it the right way, having really, really great people, having a really great set. And then not taking it so seriously. I think that was really important, because exercise is hard enough. And then when you start to take it seriously and you turn yourself into a drill sergeant, you know, people are just, ugh. You know, and so and also the modifications and whatnot, that really helped people. When you were looking at the workouts, you saw, you know, somewhere between 2 and 3 different versions of a particular exercise. So you didn't have to be a perfect. You didn't have to be a perfectionist to be able to enjoy the program and still see results.
Well, that's just it, right? So again, you didn't even realize kind of how that right. I mean, I'm using this term now, and obviously you weren't thinking about that, but you were reducing friction by making it fun, interesting, kind of mixing it up, giving them different versions, right? I always talk about, like, for your physical health core, like, don't go out and make the thing like you want to move at least 3 to 5 days a week. I'm sure you'd say every day, but I try to, you know, ease people into it.
I mean, you know, my reason for 5 to 6 days a week is because it's like everything else that we do. We don't show up to work 3 times a week. We don't sleep 3 nights a week. We don't eat 3 meals a day. You know what I mean? Like, if you really want to see results, I mean, rapid, serious, life-altering transformations, it's something like people go, well, how often? All the time. You know what I mean? Because most people are surviving, and 3 days a week, it means 4 days you're taking off. And so those 4 will dominate the 3 every time, and you'll end up really frustrated. And you end up with what I call exercise bipolar disorder, because when you exercise, you feel good. And then when you don't feel as good. And so you have sort of this, you have these emotional swings, and you don't know why. It's because you're exercising and feeling great, but then those chemicals inside of your brain only last for about 24 hours or less for some people, maybe more for others. But so, yeah, I mean, 3 times a week is just, you might as well throw yourself down a set of stairs.
Thank you. That's a really great way to connect to people's why on why they should do 5 to 6 days a week. And that's exactly what I was just talking about, which is like you're trying to get in people's brains and like, okay, why does this make sense? Why do I want to do this? And it's like, yeah, okay. Do you want to be, what did you call it? Exercise bipolar? I love that.
Exercise bipolar disorder. Yes.
Bipolar disorder. I'm writing that down. So, and it's like, okay, then you're going back and forth between getting that good feel versus like having that kind of that buzz and that thing going all week long that's helping propel your brain as well as your body.
Well,
I love
because
that.
Because fitness is is as much and more so a mental and emotional activity. A lot of people are exercising for all the wrong reasons. I mean, losing weight is a good reason, but and looking a certain way is fine. But that's really about your ego more than anything else. It's a health and wellness equation. That's what it should ultimately be. And when you're releasing all these norepinephrine and dopamine and serotonin and all these brain-derived neurotropic factor, it improves your mental and emotional state. It comes down to, oh wow, it improves cognition and memory and the quality of sleep and sex drive and productivity levels. You know what I mean? And that, like, wow, that's really who we are in the other 23 hours of the day we're not exercising. We have to have the physical and mental emotional state to be able to live large. I did a series with Brendan Bouchard called Living Large, and it was really kind of all about that. It was above and beyond just the exercise. It's the exercise is the foundation of who you are, so that you can go have the life that you want. You know what I mean? I mean, people who are overweight are overwhelmed. Just period. I mean, it's such a struggle when you're dealing with that. I mean, the escalator's out. I got to carry these bags up the stairs. I mean, simple things like that shouldn't be like climbing Mount Everest. And the same thing when it comes to problem solving. I mean, physical activity just keeps your brain so sharp and so ready to be able to solve the day-to-day problems. And even the big stuff, the big issues in your life when it comes to career and marriage and dealing with those types of things. It also helps you better in traffic. You know what I mean? You just kind of chill. And that's what these things do.
I love, right. So I love how you're putting it, because it really is true. It's like, if you don't have the physical thing, I talk about these core areas: your mindset, your career and your finances, your stressing, your emotional health, like relationships, like that helps. It helps all of them, right? You can't be killing it in those other areas without having the physical, because it all ties in together, and it just reduces the friction to make it easier to excel in those areas as well, right?
I love it. I love that, what you say about reducing the friction, because there's one of the things that I think about a lot too is there's not much that you can do about the things that you're thinking about, but there are things that you can do that change the way you feel about the things you're thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, these thoughts are going to come bouncing into your head, and sometimes they rule. They overwhelm us sometimes. But if you add fitness into the equation, it creates feelings and sensations, so that you don't focus on the problem. You naturally just go to the solution, which is powerful. I mean, a lot of people are taking pills and going to therapists and things, and that maybe that you really need those types of things. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you can find an internal source, which is you, as opposed to an external one, coffee, alcohol, sex, drugs, rock and roll. There's nothing wrong with those 3, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, we're too often looking for things I can put in my gob to be able to help change my mental state, when in reality you can pull a yoga mat out from underneath your bed first thing in the morning and do a 10-minute sun salutation, and you're using the physical body. You're oxygenating your blood, which affects the quality of how your brain's going to work. And you also get to work on strength, balance, and range of motion, and mindfulness at the same time. 10 minutes first thing in the morning. Like, why every single American in this country doesn't just have that as a natural practice, as opposed to getting down in the kitchen and trying to get a giant cup of Joe in the body. It's a completely better way to go.
Right. So, oh man, amen. I'm always talking about how I feel like there's a big part of our system is broken, and that's putting it mildly. And you know, you look at from parents, then you go into then just your peers, then school, then you know, media, and you know, there's all these things coming at us, and it's like, think about your physical health being such an important aspect of your life, yet we learn in school about math, science, you know, history. We even get into granular advanced algebra, trigonometry, yet there's no like basic in school teaching us how to do what exactly you just said. And then most people just kind of take the path of least resistance, and it's like, oh, this cup of coffee makes me feel good, but it's a short-term fix, and you keep over the long run, you're killing yourself, and you're not being able to gain that positive momentum in life. And it's right. It's like for somebody like you and I that's figured it out, like, oh my God, it's like, why isn't everybody doing this? And you just want to scream it from the rooftops. It needs to be more of a, right? So I'm standing on my soapbox right now. Part of my mission is to change that educational system and to incorporate more of these core areas and make sure that we're learning the things that actually make a huge difference in our life. And not that there's anything wrong with math and science and these things, but I mean, like today, you're still learning how to, you know, you got calculators, you got computers, like you don't really need that, but you do need to know how to get your butt out of bed and start doing something active, because it's going to change your whole life.
Completely, totally.
So let me ask you this. So you did the P90X, you started to gain the momentum. What has it evolved into? Have you, you know, and where do things stand today with P90X?
Well, you know, it all started with a personal development chapter many years ago, and at the end of the chapter, it said, "Go out of your way and do something really nice for somebody you don't like at all." And I thought, oh, that's weird. And I don't like doing nice things for people I like, so that was a real challenge for me. But yeah, there was this one guy that I offered to train, and he was struggling with his weight. And he and I used to play basketball together, and we used to get in these fights on the basketball court. And I think he was a bit surprised that I even offered. But he said yes. And then a year later, he introduced me to Carl Deichler, who's the now president of Beachbody. And Carl and I made, you know, Power 90, P90X, P90X2, P90X3, 22-minute hardcore, the one-on-one series. I mean, literally close to 1,000 separate workouts across the board. And, you know, it was a tremendous run with Beachbody. It's a 20-year run. And as of January 1st, it'll be 2 years that I'm no longer with them. And, you know, companies change. They start moving in one direction. And I felt like I was moving in another direction. I didn't feel like I fit over there anymore. And, you know, the bottom line is there was just contractual things, you know, I mean, like, you know, why does any athlete or anybody who's, you know, feel like they deserve whatever, you know, a better contract? And that's what I felt like I needed. And and they wanted to do one thing. And I just said, hey, I think it's time for me to leave. 20 years has been amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, without Beachbody, I certainly wouldn't be where I am. So, you know, then I had to put, you know, put out the resume and start knocking on doors. But fortunately, people, when they discovered that I wasn't with them anymore, were knocking on mine. And so, you know, I've got a lot of projects going on. One of them is, and this one is, we're struggling a little bit because a lot of the factories just aren't dealing with new companies yet. But TH Fitness, which is a home fitness equipment line. So we're going to do mats and med balls and stability balls and resistance bands and stuff like that. And my power stands, which I trademarked and designed, we finally got the mold, and we think we'll have those in manufacturing next month, which is exciting. But you know, one thing that I'm really proud of is my Power Life supplement line, which is going gangbusters, and we're selling those all, you know, everywhere. And we've got different proteins and a product called Foundation 4, which has really helped me with my, you know, some of my leaky gut issues and things like that. So I knocked on their door 2.5 years. Well, yeah, I guess it was October 2017. I got really sick with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, and it was a long haul coming back, and I lost about 25, 30 pounds. And, you know, I mean, it was a form of sarcopenia, which is it's age-related muscle loss. So anybody who's in my age range, you know, suffers from that. So we came up with this really cool formula for the protein powders, and that's doing really well. Excited about Power Life. And then I'm working with Tonal. If anybody's familiar with what Tonal is, you know, Tonal is people have seen the Mirror ads for the Mirror, but the Tonal is this incredible piece of equipment. It's 6.5 inches thick and 4.5 feet tall, and it sits on your wall. And there are dozens and dozens of trainers and workouts, and it does every possible resistance / hypertrophy exercise you can think of. So if you go to a gym and you see all these machines are on this, you know, beautiful thing. It's like a piece of art on your wall. So my first 5 workouts premiered last month, and we'll be in rehearsal soon, do it in the next batch of 6. So that's happening. So, you know, check out tonal.com. It's an amazing thing. And then the other little side project is my my Power Nation beta group. So we've got about 2,000 people who are we're running them. We're actually into our final month of beta 1, which is, you know, in the old days when we were at Beachbody, we would do test groups in brick and mortar facilities, right? We knock on a gym door and go, hey, can we use the space? And we get like 30 people in the morning and 30 people in the afternoon. Now we've got 2,000 that are kind of going through the paces of a routine, which I'm really proud of. And so
nice.
we're going to be in between, and then we're going to start beta 2. We're going to start filming beta 2 in January 14th. So and that'll be
film it. And it's going to be where it's going to play on.
Well, we'll have an app, and it can be streamed, and there's a myriad of ways in which people can get it. If you want to know more about it, you know, you can go to TonyHortonLife.com, and you can see this. The signups aren't there yet, but TonyHortonLife.com if you want to be one of the guinea pigs. Now, there's already been 2,000 that have been through the paces, right? So we did a survey. We got a stack of, you know, great comments and ideas from people, and so we're going to rearrange it a little bit, and we're going to, you know. The first time we all had masks on, the cast had masks on. We had to, you know, for protocol and CDC protocol stuff. But this time we're going to be double testing everybody, quarantining people. We just want to make sure that it looks more normal. So we'll be doing this batch without masks, which will be nice. So, you know, I'm you know, it's funny, during a pandemic, it's kind of amazing that I'm busier than ever. But, you know, everything's online now, right? So, and people are looking to find solutions, and they can't go to gyms. So, yeah, so I'm busy. That's where I am right now.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing all that. That's doesn't surprise me. Anybody that usually has that mindset and builds something, they don't just stop, right? I always talk about how it doesn't work that way. You don't just go drink a pina colada on the beach once you make it.
Well,
it's like, no, okay, what's next?
But then, you know, then you got to go back to work again. But
right.
But
right. Well, you can it's fun for a little. So I sold my company last year, and it was amazing for, you know, a short period. But then it was like, okay, now what, right? And technically, even if you don't have to work, it's like it's innate in us. It's in our bigger, better, faster, stronger goals. What's next? Where can I go next? Right? You can't just sit around, because then it's just like your body, your mind starts to atrophy and build that negative momentum, and nobody.
And man, and you know, I love what I do. I mean, last night I was on a call for about two and a half hours for a mastermind group. So there was a group of people who paid a little extra money to be part of these mastermind sessions for Power Nation, and just to sit there and talk to an expert and have that conversation, exchange those ideas, and really, you know, inspire and motivate people just through that means too. I mean, I look forward to it as much as they do, you know what I mean? And the expert that we had in there was, you know, a dear old friend of mine, this guy, Bobby Stevenson, who's in P90X, who's had an amazing career and interesting life. And I learned more about Bobby last night than I did when, you know, since I've known him for 24 years. So, you know, it's those types of things. If you found your raison d'etre, as the French say, reason for being, then it's not work, you know what I mean? And if you can make a living that way, I mean, when I was an actor, I remember my acting coach said, and this guy had such an effect on me. His name is Daryl Hickman. He's 90 years old now. Just such a wise guy. And he said, you know, there were 35 actors in this class. And he said, you know, I know you all really love this profession, but it's probably the most difficult one to be successful in. He said, so you better find a second thing that you love as much. You know what I mean? So find a hobby, find another career, whatever it is. And so I was very fortunate that I got into the health and wellness world. And that I got lucky because my first celebrity client was Tom Petty. And then from Tom Petty, it was Billy Idol. From Billy Idol, it was Stephen Stills and Annie Lennox. And it's just like, wow, whose life is this anyway? So I was able to combine those two careers. Who knew? I just thought I was going to own a gym. You know,
that's cool.
I thought I'll be a gym owner, but no, you know, I ended up being sort of, you know, America's fitness clown.
Well, so that's neat. You kind of came in the side door with it, right? And sounds like that was good advice from your acting coach, and it sort of got you thinking like, and that's a good, I always talk about mindset being so important, the victim versus the owner, right? And it's like that kind of got you out of the all or nothing, like I have to make it, otherwise I'm a failure, I'm a loser. It's like, okay, this would be great, I enjoy this, I'm going to keep pursuing this, but on the side, what else am I passionate about that I can kind of build? And so you opened up some doorways for yourself. and ended up creating this amazing life. So speaking of some of these celebrity clients, yeah, I mean, people love to hear about. Are there any juicy stories? Obviously, nothing, that you can't say that they wouldn't already know that you would say, but like something where a particular celebrity or somebody you worked with that you took from A to Z, and an interesting story about that transformation.
Well, juicy. I'm gonna have to wait till they all die before I tell those. you know what I mean? Because you're on tour with Tom Petty, or you're going to Billy Idol's house, and I mean, I got a chapter and a half on Billy Idol, man. I mean, the guy was just an amazing, some funny. I mean, I have these Paragon events here at my house where people come in from around the world. I usually have 3 a year. We're going to have to wait with COVID, but we had one in October and one in June, and we'll all settle down like on Saturday night, and I'll start telling these stories, and people are like, wow. But, one thing that I can say is when I, I was a kid who was, I was a waiter, and I was a bartender, and I was a carpenter. And when I was really in trouble, I was a trained pantomime street performer. So I would go down to the Santa Monica Pier or into Westwood, where UCLA is, and put on my, my mime makeup and go out there and do Walk in the Wind and do the Glass Box and do these things so I could make a few bucks so I could live on Cheerios and yogurt for 3 days. You know what I mean? And so, and I was training my boss. I was a runner or a PA at 20th Century Fox. And I was, and my boss, Harlan Goodman was his name. He was in the music industry before he started trying to make movies. And he was noticing my transformation, because when he hired me, I was a skinny, scrawny kid. And then I started going to the gym, mostly to meet women. But I also knew that my agent, my first time I had an agent, my agent said, "You're kind of scrawny, man. You need to kind of bulk up if you want to get more jobs." So I have an agent, and I work at 20th Century Fox, and my life is tremendous, and my boss noticed my changes, and he said, "Will you start training me?" And so I did. And I got him to lose about 45 pounds. He got super lean. He'd never been that fit and lean in his whole life. And then he couldn't make a movie. It was really hard to make a movie. So he went back to the music industry. And he was walking down the hallway at East End Management, and coming the other direction was Tom Petty. And Tom saw Harlan, and he said, "Harlan, you look fantastic. I'm getting fat, and nobody likes a fat rocker. So how did you do it?" So that's my Tom Petty. Thank you. I'm here all week. And so Harlan unbeknownst to me, gave Tom my phone number. And so a day or two later, the phone rings, and my roommate, my best man, a guy that I came out to California with, Bob, picked up the phone. "Hi, it's Tom Petty. I'm looking for Tony Horton." So Bob turns to me and says, "Dude, I think it's JP downstairs screwing around. I don't know. It says he's Tom." I go, "Hang up, dude. I know who Tom Petty's not calling my house." So Bob clicks and hangs up on Tom. Phone rings again. "Hey, we got disconnected." So Bob turns to me and goes, "Dude, this could be Tom Petty." So I pick up the phone. The next day I go to his house, and there he is, smoking a cigarette. He puts it out, and then we start a 4-month process where, he had never exercised a day in his life. He was just singing on the guitar, and so we started from scratch on everything. The story that I tell is I got him the equipment almost right away. I got him a bench press, some dumbbells, a nice big mat for the floor, and a heavy bag, and a life cycle, the old life cycles. And I put him on the life cycle, and I was doing the life cycle. I think it went to 1 to 12 as far as tension. I put it on 4, and his legs went, grrr. That was it. Nothing's like that, man. He goes, "That's better. I like it like that." And he lasted about 1 minute and 24 seconds. And I thought, oh my God, I got a lot of work to do. But 4 months later, he was on level 6 for 25 minutes, kicking the crap out of the heavy bag. He could barely move 10 pounds on bench press. At the end, he was cranking out 45s, 90 pounds off his chest. He got super lean, cardiovascularly strong. He went on tour. His voice was better. His energy was better. His sets were longer. And after that, the phone rang off the hook. I mean, Billy Idol called me almost immediately. "Right, mate. What'd you do, Tom Petty, man? It's fantastic." Right? That's my Billy. That's my lame English. Right, great, fantastic, mate. So yeah, and then I got Billy shredded. Everybody thought he was on doing steroids. It was just so funny. But yeah, I mean, there are some stories, but I can't tell you those stories yet.
So that's cool. So yeah, I mean, you basically took Tom Petty was never exercised a day in his life. And I'm imagining that you didn't just throw the kitchen sink at him, that you kind of slowly introduced him to things and acclimated him. and got him to the point where he's like, okay, I can do this. And then he started lifting a little more and doing different exercises. And then, you know, he transformed, which is what I'm always talking about, habits. It's all about habits. He was in the habit his whole life. He just never got in the habit of working out. Why? Because he was focusing on his music, you know, whatever not. And that turned out well for him. But then it was like he reached a stage in his life, which that's why you've got the 5 course. You can't just focus on one and not have those others, right? You got to have them all. And then he reached physical health. Got to have that. And what a cool story about how the guy that you had trained and saw him, and then he introduced you, and then that kind of started your career. It's always neat to see, or not started your career, but helped to propel as far as the celebrity training part.
I mean, I had one client, you know, I didn't even know what I was doing. You know what I mean? I was just training my boss for $25 an hour, which was, you know, but then, you know, that was it. I mean, meeting Tom changed my life forever, because I didn't have to do mime on the pier anymore. You know, I didn't have to be a bartender or a carpenter anymore. You know, I mean,
no more yogurt and Cheerios.
No, I was able to eat chicken and fish and things.
And the good stuff.
But yeah, those were the early days, man. And you're in your 20s, and you're in California from Connecticut, and you know, it was just who cares? You know what I mean? When I first got my first apartment, we had no furniture. So we were painting houses initially, my roommate and I, and so we found an old, you know, termite riddled picnic table in the backyard of some house we were painting, and that became our dining room table. Those were the early days, you know. And we actually, our mattresses we just found in an alley, sprayed them with Lysol, and we thought that was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing that stuff, right? Like the rags to riches, like, you know. And it's funny how many times I talk to people that did become successful. It's almost like if you've been handed a lot of stuff, it's not almost like it is. Like if you're just given things, it's a curse, right? Because then you don't have to scrape, and you don't have that motivation to be like, all right, I want something better than this. And, you know, everything in you just gets it going on it, and then you make things happen like you did. It's almost like the worst place to be, kind of in between your best self and your rock bottom, that kind of gray area where you're just sort of hovering in there.
I think earning it allows you to really establish a work ethic that you can have for a lifetime. I think if it's been given to you, then you just don't know what it's like to struggle. You don't know what it's like to start from scratch. You know, you don't know what it's like to build a business from the bottom up. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I mean, at the peak of P90X, you know, I thought that wave was going to ride forever. You know what I mean? I mean, that was I had never seen I had never seen anything income like that ever. I didn't think I was ever going to see that. So, but that went away eventually, right? And so then when the company didn't really want to go in the direction that I wanted to go in, you know, that was starting from scratch again. But at least I had all that history. But then, you know, I mean, I'm in a stage now that's, you know, I'm not eating Cheerios and yogurt, but there's a lot of, you know, things like simple things that I can't go out and buy. And I'm, you know, and I have employees and overhead and all these other things. And there's a lot more at stake right now. You know, I'm, you know, I hate to say it, but I'm as freaked out as I was when I was in my 20s, when I was first starting out, because here's my business. I'm not just showing up to a gig, right? Hitting the mark, doing what I got to do, and then go home and not worry about it anymore. I have to do everybody's job. I have to look at everybody and what they're doing. And that's, you know, I'm not a business person, but boy, it's like building the airplane while in flight. That's what I'm in the middle of. So, you know, there are fits and starts and mistakes that are made, and hirings and firings, and that's nothing I ever thought I'd had to do. But, you know, I mean, I'm up for the task, and we're getting some great results, and I have total control, which is nice. Whereas before, hey, Tony, we want you to do this thing. You want to get paid or not? Oh, that thing sucks. I don't want to do that thing, but I want to get paid. You know what I mean? So there was always that juxtaposition between, you know, doing a job, even though that's not the job that you felt like you should be doing. Somebody else should be doing that job you want to do. Like, hey, I want to do this. Well, no, we don't want you to do that. Right? And you're under contract. So either do what we say or don't get paid. You know what I mean? Now, you know, a lot more work, a lot more at stake, but there's so much more satisfaction because I get to call it what I want. I get to make the sequences that I want to do. I get to hire the people that I think are going to be rock stars. So yeah, you know, I'm learning as I'm going, but so far so good.
Yeah, and so I want to point out what you just said there. You know, for people, yeah, we're living in a day and age right now where I feel like you know, it's instant gratification and you can get whatever you want at the click of a button. And honest, straight up, I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like the discipline of people is going away more and more, to the point where like that hard work, that work ethic that is needed to succeed is it's not as easy to develop these days, because you can, you know, do all these things and you have everything coming at you. So, you know, but without that, you really do have to do that part to be able to get to where you are. And I just want to point that out. Like, so many people think like, okay, well, this guy did it, he's an overnight success, so I can too. And it's like, no.
Overnight it wasn't. Like, you know, 42, I was on the set of my first program at the age of 42. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I was dead broke, in debt up till that point. You know, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with a view of a convalescent home and a broken down Mustang convertible that looked really cool in the garage, but it didn't always work. You know what I mean? And then I'm having to rent cars while that thing's in the shop. And, oh, wow, am I going to be able to pay my rent this month? You know what I mean? Oh, I got to, you know, there was this organization that would hire me to go out to Vegas to do these silly gigs where I'm a statue on somebody's dining room table. You know what I mean? Like, I would move. I'd have like a police outfit on, or an Indian, or
wow,
whatever. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's the stuff that I was doing because to make ends meet, you know? And so, yeah, when you're working your butt off and you don't really see your real first checks until the age of 42. Yeah. I think when you kind of make it in your 20s, then, you know, it's a different story. For me, it took me a long, long time. And then a lot of people are like, oh, wow, so there's still hope for me. Yeah, of course there is, man. I mean, I have a friend of mine who's an actor, didn't get, was unknown, a nobody, until the age of 53. 53, he got a gig, then he got another one, and now he's working all the time. You know what I mean? So,
I love that. Right.
Patience.
That's it. Yeah. And you guys, you got to put in the work. You can't just, I mean, I hear all these, you getting a bunch of glowing comments from people that have used your systems, and I'm sure that they'll tell you.
I see them there.
Yeah. You can't, you don't just buy the video or watch it online and then you become that. Like, you got to do it, and you got to put in the work. And then it's like, then that feeling, and I can see that they're human spirits coming out. Like, there's no better feeling, right? And you put in that, just like with your career, just like with your relationships, just like any of these main areas of your life. Like, you got to put in that work, and then you earn the right. And that's when it's like, without the bitter, the sweet just ain't sweet, because then you get to that point where you can call your own shots, and you don't have to like scrape on where you're getting your next Cheerio. And, you know, you got your next product coming out, and you can decide how it goes and what it's called and these things. And that's just, there's no better feeling. But again, if you go back to like, if somebody just handed that to you at 20 years old, man, that's like a recipe for disaster. You got to go through the work process of earning it and building it, and then you can get to that other side.
You know, I got to say, I just saw my old friend, Deborah Kurtz here is one of the people who's saying hello. And I got Deborah, she wrote, I was there, and Deborah was there. Deborah Kurtz was a casting director, a big shot casting director that everybody was afraid of, because she was like, you know, like, this is the woman that made a decision about, you know, your life and whether you're going to get a gig or not and make some money. Right. And we became friends, and I used to go to her casting office and train her. And then she came to my gym at my house and trained me. But she was there for the Billy Idol stories and the Tom Petty stories, and the birthday parties and all of it. So hi, Deborah. Nice to see you, sweetheart.
Oh, all right. Debbie, thank you for joining us. Is Debbie still doing that? Or Debbie, have you
I don't know. I don't know if Debbie still is.
Let us know, Debbie.
Yeah. I don't want to put pressure on her, though.
So I used to, way back, like in my early 20s, I wanted to be, same as you, I was in an acting class. I was like, this just seems really cool. Turns out I was not a good actor at all. At all. Like, just so bad. My mom came to see me in one of the only 2 plays I ever did. And she literally, and this is my mother, and she's actually a very sweet, awesome woman. But I'm going to tell this, and you're going to be like, seriously, your mom said that? She's like, this isn't your thing, Will. She's like, I love you. You're my son. You don't got it. Don't waste your time. And I was like so devastated at the time, but then I was like, oh man, she's right. And it's like, and it's not like you can't become a better actor. Obviously, like that's what we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. Like you got to work for things and you get bigger, better, faster, stronger. But I do also, I tell people like, don't, again, it goes back to the friction thing. Like, don't go against the grain. Like if you're naturally not good at something and there's something else that you are naturally good at and you like just as much, like go that way, go do that, because you're just fighting uphill. Because anything you do, you want to be the best at it. And if there's people that are naturally gifted and they put in the work, I mean, you're going against all those people. And here I am. I'm not trying to crush any dreams out there. But, you know, I realized at that moment for me, I was like, okay, this isn't my thing. But I also realized that I went to college. I was actually in college at the time. And very soon after, I started a talk show in my college. Like I resurrected. They had a TV show that had been dead for like 4 years. Nobody had touched. There's like all this equipment, like out of a movie, and like this basement room. They're like, hey, Will, if you want to do something with it, we have this TV. And I did, and I put a show together and I did the work, and it ended up being so gratifying. And I realized how much I love talking to people, learning about them, getting their nuggets. And now here I am 20 some years later, still doing it.
Awesome. That's great. That's really great.
Yeah, man. So tell us, habits is a big part of what I like to get people. Obviously the working out habit is a big one. I was kind of started to say earlier how I'm always telling people, you know, like don't go run 10 miles a day if you hate running, just like we were kind of just talking about. Reduce the friction, do things that you love. What would you say out of all the workouts, all that you've learned about working out, exercising, what advice would you give? What habit would you tell people to build in the physical health core realm?
In the physical health realm,
just exercise. Well, let's say exercising.
Well, you know, I mean, the idea here is to be successful with it. You know what I mean? The idea is to figure out what the course of action is so that you'll stick with it for the rest of your life, and that's who you are, and it becomes part of your lifestyle. You know what I mean? So you need a purpose, a plan. You need purpose. You need a reason why. You need a plan, something you'll stick with, and you need a means of staying accountable. So, you know, my purpose is no longer about the aesthetic. When I was in my 20s, it was all about how I want to look, because I thought I would attract the opposite sex. You know what I mean? And that's just not sustainable. That's all about ego. You know what I mean? And then, you know, I figured out, I read John Rady's book, Spark, and he talks about the effects of physical activity on the quality of your life and brain function and memory and productivity and all these amazing things. You know, I talked about the different chemicals that fly into your head. So that's the reason why I train now. I know that if I exercise today, I'm going to improve my appearance, but I'm also going to improve all the internal organs that keep me alive. You know what I mean? And I'm also it's going to affect the quality of how my brain functions. And so, yeah, that's why I do it. Otherwise, I'm in a brain fog or I'm in a crappy mood. You know what I mean? If I don't. So my purpose is pretty locked in. That's who I am. I try to get people to sort of make that shift, get away from the six packs and all, you know, because if you work hard and you eat well, those things are going to happen, but don't make that your main focus. Okay. You know, really make it about, you know, the quality of life and who you are as a human being on this earth, you know. And then you need a plan. You need to figure out what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. You got to stick to it like you do everything else. Like, you know what time you're going to get up, you set the alarm. You know what time you're supposed to get in the car to go to work, because you do it every day, and that's automatic. You know what you do. You know what to do when you show up to work, so that you can keep your job, so that you can pay your bills, and so you can go to a ball game on the weekend. You know what I mean? These are things that we all do to survive. All right. But if you really want to thrive, because thriving can't happen for people who add regular exercise to their life. You know what I mean? And so if you want to thrive and get outside of your comfort zone and go on adventures and go snowboarding and heli skiing and ice climbing and mountain biking and playing tennis in your friggin' 80s, then this is something that you do. So you have to make a plan. I know exactly. And everybody in my life knows that these hours on these days cannot be disturbed for any reason whatsoever, because I'll be working out there. You know what I mean? That's automatic. My assistant knows that. My wife knows that. Everybody that I work with knows this is the time frame you leave me alone. And then accountability for me, because I'm not self-motivated, really. I need somebody else to show up here at my home or online or some other way, or some location, maybe, you know, at a local park or something. And I'm really diligent about getting my tribe lined up who want to be here. I mean, yesterday, I usually have, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have anywhere from 1 to 4 dudes show up. Now, right now, the doors and windows are open, the fans are on, we're wearing masks. It's a pain in the ass, right? So so far, 8 months in, you know, knock on wood, cross your fingers, everything's been fine. No one's gotten sick. But, you know, you do what you got to do to make sure that you stay accountable. And when there's somebody else in the room with you, there's a greater likelihood that you'll work a little bit harder. You know, you'll do the extra rep, you'll lift some heavier weights. There'll be somebody else there who can spot you and keep an eye on you and make sure your form is good. You know what I mean? And so that's what it works for me. These people that get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go down to their basement in Minnesota and it's 58 degrees down there and they're doing yoga or plyometrics, and then they go upstairs, take a shower, get up, feed their kids, send them off to school, and then go to work. I don't know who you are, but you're superstars. And I congratulate you, because I can't do that, man.
My wife woke up at the crack of dawn and went on a run, but with some friends this morning before I was even up, before our kids were up. And so 100%, the two things I got out of that, the habits that I think that summing what you just said, that gold into 2 habits, I would say routine is one, right? You said you've got your routine, you've got this time blocked off, nobody is to disturb you. You have proactively set that in your schedule, so you know that's coming. That's what's going to happen. It's not like, maybe I should go eat a cheeseburger instead. Like, you're working out. And then the second one was part of that routine, accountability, having a partner, having somebody else to kind of help you to make sure that, you know, you're pushing yourself harder, you're showing up, you're going to get that extra out of that workout. Those are 2 fantastic ones, and I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you know, there are rules to the road. And if you follow the rules to the road, you know, I mean, there are 3 things that will get in our way, and that's our genetics, which is, you know, I thought for the longest time that's something you can't change, and I keep reading all these, you know, all these studies that say you can change your genetics in your lifetime if you can dramatically change your lifestyle, and then the other 2 are you definitely can affect, which is your environment and your behavior. You know, so I would not just hang out near Chernobyl eating cheeseburgers and drinking vodka, because your environment, your behavior, and your location suck. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're talking about clean water and fresh air and regular exercise and healthy food. And if you do those types of things, you can literally change, you know, you can outlive your parents. I mean, the weird thing is that my grandparents on both my mother and father's side lived well into their mid-80s, and they were drinking scotch and smoking cigarettes every day. Both my parents died younger than their parents because, you know, there was a lot more stress. I think stress is this one thing that you can't see, smell, touch, or feel, but it's happening to you on any given level on any day. The reason why I ended up with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is because there was the Vegas shooting, and I had friends that were there. Tom Petty died the next day, and I was in the middle of some serious contract negotiations, and I was on a scale of 1 to 10, I was an 11 when it came to stress. And then, you know, it's like the frog in the frying pan. You don't, you know, when they're turning the heat up really slowly over the course of time, you don't realize how bad things are. And that's what was happening to me. And I got so desperately ill. I was out for 6 months. And so stress is one of those things that, you know, if you have a mindfulness practice, I don't know what that is, walking your dog, playing some music, getting in a jacuzzi, you know, getting in an Epsom salt bath, meditation, taking a nap once in a while, because there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Allowing the pendulum to swing in the other direction once in a while, as opposed to just being go, go, go all the time. And that's just balance. You know what I mean? It's yin and yang. It's simple, you know, physical, mental, and emotional math is what it is. And if you understand, like, I chill out all the time. I sleep in. Like, I don't put, when I don't have an appointment, I'll just sleep. I'll get up when the hell I want to get up. Sometimes I get up at 9:30 in the morning. Like, what kind of a lazy son of a bitch am I? But then I know I need it, because the day before I did an hour and 45-minute chest and back routine that nearly killed me. So, you know, I mean, my body needs to heal. I take baths all the time. I'll have an event here at my house, and I'll say, who has a bathtub in their house? And some people don't, but most people do. And I'll say, when was the last time you were in that bath with some Epsom salts or bubbles? And people will go, never, or 10 years ago. And I think to myself, well, then get rid of it. If you're not going to use the damn thing, turn it into a closet or something, or get in put some water in there, put some Epsom salts in there, and learn just to, you know, play some music and enjoy because that has so much value. Too many Americans are getting not enough sleep and terrible sleep, and they can't figure out why they're exhausted, why they're depressed, why they're freaked out, why they can't, you know, get through their day.
Amen.
Sleeping is healing. That
Huge.
is how you heal. And if you're in there for 5.5 hours, these are what we need to do. And if we don't do them,
I lost my earpiece. Hold on.
Get it. Come back to me, Will.
Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening. My earpiece popped right out.
But yeah, that's it. That's really it, man. Finding balance is important, and you know, I don't know. My feeling is like if I get to 109 and I'm doing pretty good, oh, that's cool. But then, you know, I don't really necessarily exercise to live a long life. But you know, I can go heli skiing right now. I can knock out 35 pull-ups. I can climb a rope upside down. You know, I have a ninja course in the backyard that, you know, people half my age that are pretty fit can't do. So for me, that's just fun. I just love.
Yeah.
I mean, last week at my Sunday workout, I had 4 personal bests on 4 different exercises. And, you know, some Sundays I'm weak as a chicken. I don't even know why. But, you know, the idea here is to show up and keep your expectations pretty low and just, you know, be the tortoise, not the hare.
Love that. And that ties into when we started the program, you know, talking about my definition of gamifying it. You're making it fun. You're creating ways to challenge. You're tapping into your why. Like, why do I want to do this? And by making it challenging and interesting and having these obstacles and challenging yourself, like that is tapping into that and helping you to build that momentum. So thank you for sharing that. So I want to ask you, what do you think about, like, so speaking of that, like all these, since P90X, I think is a good example of one of the first products that came out that made it fun, that gamified, tapped into people's like, oh, this is cool. Like, oh, it's different. Like, it's not just your traditional, like, you know, Jane Fonda workout video type thing. And then since then, right, things have evolved and you've got things that came out, you know, and the most recent example. So I remember Orange Theory. I remember when that came out. I assume you're familiar with Orange Theory.
My wife's a huge fan. Huge.
So as is mine. And I've never been, but my wife loves it. And people are like gospel about it. And it's because I think Orange Theory did exactly what you did and what we're talking about, which is they kind of made it, they changed the script a little and they made it fun and interesting. And so you got these monitors up there and you can see what other people are doing, and it's tapping into that competitive drive in you and it's making you push yourself harder. People loved it, right? Mm-hmm. Now you look at what's the latest trend? Peloton, right? That's right. And Peloton did an amazing job of that as well. Like they took science and technology and what we have and they turned it in, and it's it couldn't have been better timing for them, right? They started growing, and then now this pandemic hit and everybody's at home working out. Like, what am I going to do? And it's like the perfect vehicle. You can do it anywhere. All you need is like a 3x5 space. You can put your Peloton, and you know, you're seeing, we don't have one, but if my wife has her way, we're going to be getting one. Almost everybody we know has one.
You guys need to get a tonal. That's what you need to get, man. That thing is the bomb.
A tonal?
A tonal. Tonal. It's that piece of equipment that's everything. It's not a cardio piece of equipment. I mean, Peloton is great, you know, because it's heart, lungs, and legs, and heart, lungs, and legs exercises that involve those 3 things are really good for the cardiovascular system. They burn fat, you know what I mean? They change the brain dynamics, which is great, but you are just doing one thing the entire time. You know what I mean? It's not going to help you with pull-ups or push-ups or squats or lunges or being a better tennis player. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, for me, Peloton is awesome, but I think that's just one tool in a quiver of many, right? Whereas P90X is dozens and dozens of tools depending on what direction you're going in. Yeah, you're lifting weights, and then you're doing yoga, and then you're doing pull-ups, and then you're doing plyometrics, and you know.
Right. Well, it's cardio and it's strength training, which is, I mean, that's so huge. That's such a big part of becoming like your best physical self. Like you can't just do one or the other. You got to do both.
I think in 6 months, anybody who's here with us, you and I will, who don't know what tonal is, in 6 months they will, because it's the same company that invested in Peloton invested in tonal. Because this is kind of called El Cadreton, and they don't mess around. They only deal with companies they're really pretty fired up about and their success. So yeah, I mean, you know, go to Tonal. I'm not here to promote anything. I remember when I sought out the CEO. I said, that thing looks amazing. You know, how do I get one in my house? And you know, he knew who I was, so that helped. And so they sent me one, and I got on that thing, and I went, oh, and I got rid of a bunch. I mean, my gym space doubled because I didn't have all the stuff I used to have. It's all gone, right? And I donated it to a school, and this thing just sits right on the wall. And
so you don't have any ownership in this? Are you?
No, I mean, you know, they pay me to do workouts. That's it. You know, I mean, I have to do 5 or 6 workouts every quarter. So I've done it. I did it last quarter, and I'll be doing it this quarter. And I have a 2-year contract, and And everybody at the organization is amazing. A bit like being on the set. A lot of former Beachbody employees are on the set, which is kind of trippy and fun. And so I know the folks, and it's just a blast. It's just a really, you know, and it's not, and it doesn't do anything cardiovascularly, right? Which is a part of fitness. But the platform provides prenatal yoga. It provides, you know, yoga, all kinds of different yoga. There's dance on there. It's just amazing, you know. And the mirror is pretty cool too, but the mirror doesn't have the 2 arms that allow you to do the bicep curls and the goblet squats and the tricep extensions and all the other things, right?
Right.
The mirror, you got to have your own dumbbells, which, you know, here it's already on the machine. So
Somebody's saying tonal's $2,900. Yikes. I just want to say $2,900. It's funny how people look at money. Like, yes, that's a lot of money, but what have you spent $2,900 on in this last month? And versus like you put it in, this is an investment is how I would think about it, right? Yeah. It's not, obviously if you don't use it, that's on you and you've wasted your money. But
well,
like
my treadmill's $4,000 and all you do is walk and run on it.
Walk and run on it.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and if this thing can do all these things you're saying, then to me, yeah, that's not a bad little deal for a lifetime of being in good physical shape and having a way to reduce the friction to do it.
Yeah.
So this has been an unbelievable interview. Thank you so much. I like to kind of finish out with just asking, is there one particular habit that you feel like you've developed over time that has made the biggest impact on your life? Is there something that like maybe you didn't used to do back when you were eating Cheerios and yogurt? And then like, as you start to figure things out, it's like, okay, this is what's up, and you got into that routine. And obviously an obvious one would be the working out, but maybe something else that you would recommend people to adapt as well?
It's a combo, I would say. And this sounds almost too simple, but it's a combination of saying yes and perseverance. And what I mean by saying yes is when I was younger and fear was a huge part of my life, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of my shadow. I mean, I would always say no to everything because if I didn't think I was going to be pretty good at it from the get-go, if I didn't preconceive the idea of being able to do well at something, I would run. I would run to the hills. I would avoid it. And now I like being horrible at things. I like trying new things. I like experimenting. I like being curious. I'm more curious than I have ever been. And, you know, even if whatever experience you have doesn't go well, at least you've got an incredible learning opportunity and a phenomenal story to tell. Like, oh, I can't tell you the story where I fell flat on my face when I was doing this thing, or I started this. I have 23 failed businesses since, you know, when P90X was flying in and and all the checks were coming in. It's like, yes, mouth guard. Yes. Watch. Yes. Insole.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Two home delivery food services that I still have hundreds of hats and t-shirts for in a cabinet in the closet. You know what I mean? Like, it's just whatever. But, you know, now I got the fitness equipment line. I've got the Power Nation experience, which is a blast. I'm with Tonal. I've got, Power Life. So you just got to keep swinging, man. Perseverance is everything. You got to be okay with falling down and hoping that you're going to get back up. You know what I mean? And I don't care what age you are. You just got to keep, so say yes, whatever. Make the phone call, have the email, have the exchange, talk to Will. Like, I just, if there's time and it sounds like a pretty cool idea, then I just jump in, man. I just jump in. And they don't always go well, but I'm past the point of being upset about that. You know what I mean? I no longer am upset about failure. Like, oh, all right, whatever, that sucked, but next, you know what I mean? And I hope I'm still doing that. I mean, I'm 62. I hope I'm still doing that in my 70s, but I hope to be retired by 70. I might just, we have a place in Jackson Hole, so I'll probably just migrate to Jackson and stare at moose and elk and look at the.
But you know what? You won't. Because
you're right.
Like we talked earlier, it sounds great on paper, but you might do it for a day, and then you're like, okay, what's up? What's next? That's humans.
On stage, doing Tom Petty, Billy Idol stories. Who knows?
There's a reason these guys go into retirement, come out of retirement, go in because they're like, okay, now they're sitting in their mansions and they're watching the paint dry, and it's like, no, this isn't living. This isn't expressing my human spirit and grabbing life by the cojones and going for it. And you got to be moving. Yeah. You got to keep doing that, otherwise it's over. Dude,
and I think entrepreneurs like you and I, and a lot of people who are looking in. People who aren't necessarily working for the man and clocking in and clocking out, you know what I mean? Like people are they have these crap jobs and they can't wait to retire and go fish or something. You know what I mean? I've been working for myself forever. You know what I mean? And so, and I love what I do. And so, yeah, you're probably right. I'll be doing this into my 90s.
You definitely will. And let's hope that you're around. And thank you for saying yes for that. I love that habit of saying yes and just pivoting, trying things, what works, what doesn't, failing forward, falling on your butt and saying, yeah, that sucked and it stung. Like, but what did I learn from it? How am I going to become bigger, better, faster, stronger from it? And then keep going from it. And you can't do that by just sitting around and doing nothing. You got to take the action. You got to say yes. Thank you for saying yes to the show, dude. This was awesome. This was so awesome.
Thank you for having me on, man. Really appreciate it. Great questions, man. Sometimes I get some lame ones, and you're so thank you. I appreciate it. I love the exchange today.
Absolutely, brother. Well, we'll keep in touch because I like hanging out with, keeping in touch with people with similar mindsets. Keep doing your thing, and we'll talk soon, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in and joining us.
Thank you, Will. Bye, Deborah. Love you. Call me.
That's it for today's episode of the 5 Core Life podcast with Will Moore, founder of More Momentum. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have not already, please make sure to subscribe and follow the podcast wherever you are listening or watching. This so that you get notified when new episodes air every week. And if you have not joined the 5 Core Life Facebook group, I encourage you to join that and see what all of the fuss is about. There's some awesome content designed to get your momentum going, including a monthly giveaway to win a complimentary coaching call with the Will Moore. The Facebook group is currently the only place to get Will's dedicated attention on your 5 core journey. If you're feeling stuck or just want someone to cheer you on, then that is the place you need to be. There's nothing like a community of people on the same journey to get you fired up, kicking butt, and taking names. So come join us.
Get moving. Gain momentum. Join the movement. Join Emmett by going to moremomentum.com to take a free life evaluator quiz on where you currently stand in each of your 5 cores.